The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies, Code Darms Paints, and Miniature War Games with Battle Games magazine, and also by the generous donations of you, the listener. Thanks to everybody for their continued support.
The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 126, Freebooter's Fate, with Neil Shuck and Mike Hobbs. This show was recorded sometime in April. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast with me, Neil Shuck. On today's show, we're going to be doing an in-depth review of a game actually which I know very little about. That's a game called Freebooter's Fate. It's actually one of Mike's favourite games, Mike Hobbs that is, and so it's more of a case of Mike's going to be explaining how all the game works and giving a full review. I'm going to be adding comments, especially since, as we were recording the interview, I was touring around the website, etc. So that's what's in store for you today. But before we look at the review, there's a couple of things I just wanted to chat about. I know several people have made comments or sent me emails, basically asking where all the reviews have gone. And, why I've been doing so many interviews over recent months. I think I've either made a comment on this, or I might have even emailed a couple of you before about this. The bottom line is that with the way life has been in general at the moment, things have been pretty busy. And, as you're gathering from the fact that, it's been a while since I've produced a show, I've been working away from home a lot since Christmas. Actually since before Christmas, but I've definitely been working away full time from middle of February. And so, despite the fact that I end up sitting in a hotel room for most of my evenings, the plan was to actually produce a lot more podcasts. The issue then became the issue of the hotel internet not really being up to scratch at all. And so we had several abortive attempts at recording shows, which a huge disappointment as far as I'm concerned. I must admit, I was really hoping to, get more content recorded so I could get it out. However, again, as far as the time constraints are concerned, because the life has been really, really busy, to be fair, recording an interview is easier than recording a game review. You've got to have time to read the rules, review the rules, play the game, those are the bits and pieces. Whereas with an interview, you've got to do some reading, research, or various other bits and pieces, and then chat to the person involved. So, interview shows are easier to do. There's no two ways around it. So, with one thing and another, and the way life has been over the last few months, and I'm not massively complaining, it's just that things are really, really busy, both at home and with work. I've possibly underestimated the amount of effort involved in actually writing a regular column for a War Games magazine. Some of you may know, or I'm sure I've mentioned it on more than one occasion. I now write a monthly column for Miniature War Games with Battle Games magazine. I have done for a while. Obviously, I used to write for Battle Games. I've transported over to writing for Miniature War Games and have been for the last year. The thing I didn't realise when I took that on is actually just how much work that is. and also I'm reviewing for them as well. So, I've got games to review and various other bits and pieces. So when you think that effectively you're in a situation where, last month, for example, for my last magazine, I ended up writing something like 6,000 or 7,000 lines worth of text for game reviews, for the column and various other bits and pieces. And that takes a lot of time and effort. There's no two ways around it. I'm kind of in the point at the moment where, at times I'm trying to fit a quart into a pint pot. It doesn't quite work. And things suffered. And one of the things that has suffered more recently has been the podcast. Not my intention, but it's just the way things have worked out. So that's one reason why I've been doing less reviews and more interviews. Simple time constraints. The intention is to do a lot more reviews this year. I've got a whole load of stuff to sort out, a whole load of stuff to look at, and a whole load of stuff to bring you. At the same time, I'm not going to stop doing interviews. I must admit, I really enjoy doing them. I've got 2 or 3 lined up in the near future, and on the whole, actually, I hope you find them interesting. But obviously, I've been kind of majoring on that over the last, probably 10 shows, really, I suppose. And so, at this point, we're going to be, trying to adjust that balance and get a lot more game reviews back into things. And so, that's the plan moving forward, okay? Now, secondly, one thing I've been working on with my ISP provider, at least for the shows, I use Libsyn, and they have an option actually to use applications for downloading podcasts. And so added with the fact that it also increases the amount of storage space you get. I've actually created a podcast app. It's currently available on iTunes. It will soon be available on Android as well. So that's available. I'm just finalising off a few bits and pieces as far as things like sorting out payment, etc. Now, unfortunately, one of these things you have to charge for it. I don't know whether it's just an iTunes thing, but as part of the package, you do have to charge for it. There is a minimum charge. I believe it's either $1 or possibly $1.99, something like that. So it'll work out probably about £1.30, something like that. Anyway, for the app. Okay. Once you've got it, the idea is actually you can produce extra content within the app that's not available to standard download. So I'm going to be looking at that and what have you. Now, as far as the pricing is concerned, half the money goes to Libsyn, and half of it actually ends up coming to the show. And so we're obviously going to be using that to help fund various different bits and pieces. We've replaced a lot of our audio equipment this year. Also, primarily looking at sourcing stuff to review and this, that, and the other. And so that's what that is going to get used for. So anyway, the app's out there. Have a go with it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if it's a good idea or not. I know a few people have said, well, there's other ways of doing things. There's a particular radio station or a radio station you can tune into that looks at podcasts as well. I've got to look at that, various other bits and pieces. So all that's I'm going to be working on in the next couple of months while I try to juggle everything else. Okay, so ramble over. On with the rest of the show. As I say, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have a review of Freebooter's Fate.
I don't like it, Sergeant. Me neither, sir. Good Lord, it's really looking pretty bad. Yes, sir. It happens every time, sir. It's too predictable, sir. How far do you think we've advanced, Sergeant?
6 inches, sir. It's always 6 inches. We advance 6 inches, then Jerry gets a go. The lads are calling it Hi-Go, Hugo, sir.
Hi-Go, Hugo. Good grief.
And they don't like it, sir.
Oh, not like it. Seems pretty straightforward to me. Rather like cricket. We have an innings, then the other chap does.
Well, that's all very well, sir, cricket, sir, but begging your pardon, it ain't like that, sir, in war. I don't think Mr. Hitler plays like that.
What, Hitler? No, gosh, he'd like to go all the time.
Oh, look, sir, lummy. Oh. Well, sir, anyway, sir, it's like this, sir. If it carries on like this, Hi-Go, Hugo, me and the lads won't be coming to your Thursday evening games club, and that's the way it is, sir.
Looking for more of a challenge with your World War II games? Are you tired of the predictability of Hi-Go, Hugo systems? Iron Bean Shopman provides real command challenges on an unpredictable battlefield. Two fat lardies, playing the period and not the rules since 2002. Pip pip.
In this part of the show, I'm joined once again by regular co-host Mike Hobbs. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Neil.
Mike's joining me for this part of the show to actually do a review, because lots of people have been asking us or mentioning it's about time we did a review. So, yes, we're doing a review. Today we're going to talk about a game which is very close to Mike's heart, and a game I know next to nothing about, to be perfectly honest, other than seeing the odd figure. And that game is Freebooter's Fate. So, Mike, do you want to give us an overview of what Freebooter's Fate is all about?
Certainly can. Okay, so this is a small-scale skirmish game. It's what we like to call a bang game. You know, it's a small amount of figures, more than probably 6 or 7 per side. It's set in a pseudo-semi-fantasy 18th century Caribbean, if that's vague enough for you. Basically, it's a pirate game with a little twist.
I feel I should say
the game itself
at this point.
You can say if you want to.
Okay. So it's a pirate game. Okay, nice.
It's a pirate game, yeah, with a twist. The game came about from a German sculptor called Werner Klock. Over the last sort of 10 years or so, he's been sculpting figures and releasing them on his website. And they sort of all had a slightly odd nautical theme. And then about 4 years ago, he started some work with some other guys based in Germany, and he came up with a set of rules, basically using some of his figures that he's designed and a sort of setting that he came up with. And that was Freebooter's Fate. Since then, there's been another 2 books released for the game, which is sort of extending it a little bit. And so we're at the position now where we've got the core rule book, and then we've got these 2 supplements, and we've got an awful lot of very, very nice figures.
Yeah.
It's probably best if I go into some of the background that he's come up with, because it's slightly different. It's slightly, so we see left of centre, or possibly right of centre. It's nowhere near the centre. But the rules themselves include this whole narrative that sort of drives the rules. It's one of those games like Malifaux and a few other games out there. They're narrative led. So the game starts off in the first rule book. You're setting the scene where there's a group of islands called Lyonnaire, which is set in the middle of a sea. On one side of it are some colonies, and on the other side is the imperial homeland, shall we say. So if you think South America, Caribbean, and Spain, you know, back in the day, it's that sort of idea.
Yeah.
And on these islands, there's a city called Puerto Alto. And obviously that city has grown rich because of the trading, because all the ships going between the colonies and the empire all stop off on these islands, and the city becomes rich. Unfortunately, some explorer discovers another route between the colonies and the empire, which is much shorter. So suddenly, nobody goes to the island anymore, and it starts to decline, shall we say. So the game starts off with, you have this slightly decadent city that is starting to decline. You've got the imperial governor and all of his cronies still there. The imperial navy isn't really around anymore. There's a small garrison of troops trying to keep the peace. But unfortunately, the pirates, which were kept at bay, are now suddenly getting stronger and more blatant in their attacks. And they've actually taken over half the city, which they've renamed as Longfall. You've also got a quasi-political wing called the Brotherhood, who are assassins. Nobody really knows what they want. They work in the background, but people have a habit of dying with knife wounds here, there, and everywhere. And then, just to finish things off, you've also got goblins. So, goblins apparently were a race which were discovered 50 years previously, and they were kept as pets or slaves. But obviously, since the decline of the city, the goblins have got more numerous. They've started forming little colonies. But the goblins are great learners, and they really like pirates, so they follow the pirates. So you basically have a bunch of green, slightly smelly people all running around going, not very well. And that's basically where the game starts. So you have this city, you've got pirates taking over half of it, you've got the Empire trying to maintain order, you've got the Brotherhood knocking off people here, there, and everywhere. And on top of that, you've got a bunch of manic goblins running around trying to be pirates.
Right, okay, so ready-made for several different factions, and obviously a myriad of sculpting possibilities.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the only way I describe it is think of Pirates of the Caribbean on speed with goblins. So, yeah, like I say, there's 4 factions to start off with. You get your pirates, which are a good all-round group. They're good at fighting, they're good at shooting. Then you've got the Imperials. They specialise in long-range firepower. You've got the Goblin Pirates, who basically go for numeric superiority and very strange weaponry. I mean, one of them is sculpted with a shark tied to his back because he thinks it'll make him look tougher. And then you've got the Brotherhood, who are basically masters of lightning-fast combat attacks. So that's the beginning of it. That's where it all starts off.
Yes, as you say, a bit like Pirates of the Caribbean with a bit of Assassin's Creed Black Flag thrown in and goblins.
And goblins, yeah.
Because allegedly everything is better with goblins.
You can't beat a goblin in a pirate hat, I think.
Kind of reminds me a little bit, with these goblins in the pirate hats. Very early 90s, 40k orcs. When they had the mercenary pirate band.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of that. I mean, there's lots of odd stuff in these rules. So which I kind of like, but they.
Okay, let's have. So what scale is it? What size of table size do you need? How many figures do you need, mate?
Okay, scale 28mm. Table size, your standard game is on 4x4. Lots of terrain zones good. I mean, this is a small scale skirmish game. An average force would probably be about 6 figures, maybe 7.
Okay. Yeah.
This is not a big game. The only other stuff you need then is tape measure and a custom card deck. There's no dice in this game at all. Everything is done using cards.
Ooh, no dice.
No dice.
Yes, I can hear some gamers turning off immediately.
Yeah.
Yes, it says it's not a proper war game. It doesn't have dice in it.
Yeah, but there is a very real reason for having no dice. Apparently, it's because this game is designed to be played on a ship, and because ships rock back and forth in the sea, dice fall off the table.
Okay.
It's logical.
I suppose it's kind of in keeping with the rest of the fluff.
It is indeed. Yeah, I mean, what I described there with the fluff takes you to the beginning of the core rules. So the core rules give you the basic rules. You've got the pirates, the armada, the goblins, the brotherhood. You've also got mercenaries that you can use in various factions as well. Mercenaries obviously have different strengths that you can drop in. Like I said earlier, there's 2 supplements which have come out. The first one came out, I think, 2 years ago, and that's called Deep Jungle. And that pushes the story on a little bit and introduces a new faction, which are the Amazons. Now, if you've ever seen Werner Klock's sculpting, you'll know the guy is really good at the female form. Him and Kev White from Hasselfree are probably 2 of the best sculptors of the female form. And the Amazons that Werner's done are absolutely fantastic. They're just full of dynamic energy. They're free flowing, they're lovely figures. But the Amazons basically live in the forests. So at the start of the second book, the pirates have got a bit more daring and actually taken over the city. They kicked the Imperials out. The Imperials have ended up living in a small camp on the side of an island. Some Amazons have turned up looking for some religious sites. The pirates are ransacking Longfall, and the goblins are getting stronger. The Brotherhood are sort of trying to hide away because their power base is being taken down a bit. And that's the second book. The third book then moves on even more, and that introduces the cult. So it starts to introduce magic into the system.
Oh, right, okay.
So you've got the cult, which is, in a way I can describe it, it's like a voodoo cult. It's that style of black magic. And it's all based around invocation and, juju dollies and all that sort of stuff. But you've got the cult, which came in, and obviously you then got more characters. The story moves on a bit more. The Empire's getting stronger. They're building up their camp. The Amazons are still there. They're getting stronger. And basically it's all heading towards this big, this big fight, which will probably happen in the next book.
Right.
So the game sort of continues, the narrative continues. The book is just full of stories, based in this sort of fictional environment, which some people probably don't like. I really like it. I can sit there and actually read the rules and just read the fluff. I quite enjoy that side of the rules.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of the setting and a bit of the fluff and an overview of what you may need to play the game. Doesn't sound like a particularly major outlay.
The basic rules are about £20. So you need those at least. I think they're €25, which is equates to about 20 quid, I think, or 20 English pounds. The supplements, Deep Jungle, again, that's €25 or £20. Mystic Spirits, which is the last one, is €29. That's a little bit more, that's £25.
Okay.
You don't need the 2 supplements. You can play the game quite happily using the first set of rules. But obviously the supplements give you the extra characters. This is a character-led game. Every figure equates to a character in the rules and has its own rules. And when you buy a figure, you get the card which gives you the stats for that particular character in the rules. Which means you can't proxy. Yeah, it's basically it's trying to get you to buy his figures.
As I say, especially with the fact that you can't proxy is probably again one of those things that, and again I suppose that's part of the thing of with a card-driven system as opposed to a dice-driven system. I suppose you have maybe a little bit more control, shall we say?
Yeah, I think so. So once you've got your rules, you then need, at the very least, you need a set of cards. So you've got the what are called the game cards. Are they available separately, or are they one of these things that you have to cut up a rule book for? No, they're available separately. They're not actually in the rule book. So the basic card pack, which is €9, which is about £6, £7.
Yeah.
What you get in that is you get 2 sets of 6 location cards, and I'll come on to those in a minute. You then get 40 fate cards, which are numbered 1 to 10. These are your randomizers. But you don't get equal amounts of each. You don't get 4 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, etc.
Right, okay.
It's mostly, you get mostly sort of 4, 5, 6, and 7s. And then as you get to the, it's basically sort of bell curve, shall we say.
Right, yeah.
The fate cards are used in place of a dice. So in most of the mechanics, if you need to work out a random number, you turn over a fate card. You only need one of these decks for the game. It doesn't matter how many players you got, one deck will do you. And then the other thing that's in the card pack is 12 event cards. Some of the fate cards have got symbols on them, and if you see a symbol, you can then draw a fate card into your hand. And then that fate card can then be played during the game.
Right, okay.
You can only hold 2 of them in a hand at any one time, but it's a little, again, randomizer for the whole game. So when you buy a figure, you get a card with the figure. That card's got all the stats on there.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got your sort of general stats on these cards. You've got a movement value, attack value, defense, strength, toughness. Obviously, these are all used in sort of movement and combat. You've then got your vitality and morale settings. Then we describe that as hit points. So basically, on the side of each card, you've got a row of squares. Each one of those equates to a wound, and when you've ticked them all off, the character's dead.
Oh, right, so in some ways a little bit like War Machine or that sort of ilk of game?
Yeah. It's got a built-in morale system, so like, say a character's got 10 wounds they can take, probably 2/3 down, the wound boxes go grey, and as soon as you get to grey, you basically have to take a morale test. There's other times you take morale tests as well, but basically means you're getting weaker and weaker. What is interesting is all of the other stats, the movement, attack, defense, strength, and toughness, are tied to parts of the body.
Right.
And each of those stats has 2 values. You've got an upper limit and you've got a lower limit. When you have combat in this game, you basically try and attack a part of the body. So, for example, if you attack somebody's legs and you do a critical hit against the legs, you then use the lower value for the movement. So,
okay.
And also, if you take a second critical hit to the same area of the body, the figure's taken off. So this comes into the whole combat system, which I'll describe in a little bit. It'll all make sense in a little while, chaps.
Yes, I think we're slightly getting ahead of ourselves just a little bit. Okay, let's go back to the start. So first off, I suppose for most people, how do you decide what forces you're using?
Whichever ones you like, to be honest with you.
Is there a point system?
Yes, there is, but it actually uses doubloons. You get a certain number of doubloons to spend. So this comes under the whole hiring of a crew. So when you start the game, you decide a doubloon level. I'm purposely not going to say points. You have a number of doubloons that you can use to spend on your crew. So there's 4 different types of figures that you can have. You've got your leaders. You've got your deckhands, who are your minions. You've got your specialists, and you've got your mercenaries. So you have to have one leader. You have to have a certain number of deckhands. For each number of deckhands you've got, you can hire a certain number of specialists and mercenaries. You tend to have a fairly balanced force. Like I said, on average, you get about 6 figures to a standard game, I would say.
Okay.
So once you've hired your crew, if you've got any doubloons left over, you can also buy some equipment to extend them, because each character has his or her default equipment. But with the second book, they introduce a new set of cards, which are equipment cards. So these are small items that you can use just to use up. Say you've got 10 doubloons left over and you can't spend it on another figure. You can buy a a very nice hat for your leader, which gives him a certain morale boost, or you can buy a cigar, or maybe a powder monkey who will reload your pistols for you. It's that sort of small items that you can just use to use up those few extra doubloons, because they're not points.
Indeed.
So once you've done that, you've got your crew.
So are these things? Are these things WYSIWYG? As in, have we got extra models being created with all these extra bits and pieces in, or is it just one of these things? Okay. All right. So
you basically get a card. So when you lay your cards out in front of you, you can just put a card next to the leader, which has his pretty hat on it, or his big cigar.
Fair enough.
And it's just so you remember that it's there. If you want to model them, you can. But honestly, life's too short.
Well, I was just wondering, because obviously, Verclock, being in school 2 years, again, I was just thinking back to my old RPG days. Remember when they used to have Wellpath used to do I think it was Wellpath. They used to do the miniatures range where you used to have basic adventurer, intermediate adventurer, and badass adventurer.
Funnily enough, we'll come back to this. He did do an Indigo campaign last year, which allowed you to basically buy some special figures that you could use in the game, and you had two versions of each figure. As you say, you had the basic figure, and you had the pimped out figure with all the equipment.
Wait, you see, there you are. I didn't even know that. You see, and I'm kind of second guessing where he's gone already.
Yeah,
isn't that scary? Anyway,
it is a bit, but we'll come back to that. Okay,
to that.
So you've got your crew. You've hired them. The next thing you do then for a game is you choose a scenario. There's 6 scenarios in the basic book, and they're all very piratey scenarios. Go and find some treasure, or go and do something else. There's 5 more scenarios in Deep Jungle. Some of them are quite sort of Amazon-based, shall we say? Like there's a man raid and things like that. And then there's 4 more in the last book, the Mystic Spirits book. Again, slightly cult-based. My favourite is the Attack of the Zombie Octopuses. And he has done zombie octopus figures.
I must admit, as soon as you mentioned cult and a little bit like voodoo, I had this thought in the back of my mind of, oh no, that means zombies. It seems every game has zombies. Zombie octopuses, at this point, I'll just kind of go, okay.
There are zombies in the cult faction. Well, they're sort of zombies. They're Samsons, I think they're called. Think of very drugged people acting against their wills. Maybe, I think they're based on the sort of true zombies from sort of Tahiti and around there, West Indies.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing.
Okay.
So they're sort of dead, but you're not really sure if they're dead. But they do what they're told, sort of. So yeah, so you've got your crew, you've chosen your scenario, you set up the battlefield. Each scenario is very specific on how the battlefield should be set up. The terrain that should be there. It also gives you your deployment areas, and then you deploy your crew, and off you go. Basically, start the scenario. Most scenarios will last for about 8 turns.
Okay.
So the turn sequence.
And typically, how long is a turn?
A normal game will last you about an hour.
Oh, right, so it's over fairly quickly then.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, you've only got 6 figures. It's there's only so much you can do, especially when you start losing them. So the turn sequence is very simple. First of all, you draw for initiative. So you each draw a fate card. You add your leader's morale value, and the winner decides who's going to go first or second. And then each player alternates activation of a single figure. So I would activate a figure, I would do something with that figure, and then you do the same with your figures. And then once all the figures have been activated, the turn ends, and you rinse and repeat. And you basically do that until either 8 turns have been carried out, or somebody has carried out the scenario objectives. somebody's found the treasure and has got it off the board, or whatever the scenario is.
Okay, so I assume it's a case of a turn is over once every model has taken an action.
Yeah. So when you activate your figures, you have a choice. You can carry out either 2 simple actions, or you can carry out 1 complex action. So there's a whole host of actions you can carry out. You've got your walk, your run, charge, aim. You can carry out an attack in close combat. You can get up. You can reload a weapon. The usual stuff. And on a standard, you basically carry out 2 of those actions, unless they're complex actions.
Right.
So, for example, you could, as one action, move into base contact, and then as a second action, do a hand-to-hand combat, because those are 2 simple actions. Or you could charge, and the charge is a complex action, which means you move in a straight line and do a hand-to-hand combat at the end of it. So it's up to you how you actually get into contact.
Okay, is there any particular advantage or disadvantage as to why you would want to move and then go into combat as opposed to charge?
Well, the charge action, you can only move in a straight line.
Right.
But you do get bonuses in the combat that takes place. Whereas if you walk into combat, shall we say, or if you walk into base contact with another figure, you don't have to go into combat with it. You don't have to do combat. You can basically move your figure into base contact, leave him there, and then the next time you activate one of your troops, you can move another one into base contact and then do an attack, because he would then get an advantage for having one of his friends in base contact with an enemy. Or it means that you could hide behind a wall, and when somebody got close, you could then basically walk around the corner and attack him from the back. It's giving you the ability to do lots of different ways of doing things.
Okay, yeah.
Movement is very simple. Each figure has a movement level. Each movement point it has equates to 1 centimeter. You've got your standard moves. You can jump, you can climb, you can jump down, you can swim. You can do any combination of those actions as part of 1 movement. So you could walk, you can move forward on land a couple of centimeters to get to the river bank, and then do a swim move across the river. And then if it's a small river, you could then get out and walk again, depending on how much move you've got.
Okay, so what's the average move distance for a figure?
Average move distance is around about 10 centimeters. That's your average. Now, what you can't do in the game is you can't pre-measure. So say you need to jump over a space, you can't measure it first to see if you've got enough clearance to get across there. But because you can do 2 actions, and a move is a simple action, you can basically move twice in 1 turn. So you could move 20 centimeters. So it means you could run along the planks, jump over a gap in the planks, and then run around the corner and use your 2 actions just to do movement.
Yeah.
And also, it doesn't matter which order you do stuff. So you can shoot and then move if you wanted to. So you've got lots of leeway. It's a similar thing to what we have with Judge Dredd and those other sort of small games. It's quite free flowing. You get a number of actions that you can carry out. It's up to you how you carry out those particular actions.
Okay, so that kind of covers movement. Obviously, one of the other major points of actions is combat.
Yeah.
So do you want to take us through how combat works?
Yeah, sure. Combat is the bit I really like about this game. It's very different. So you basically got... The combat procedure is basically you declare the attack before you do anything. So if you're going to charge into combat, you have to declare you're going to charge into combat. If you're going to shoot at somebody, you have to declare that you're going to shoot at somebody. Even if you're going to move and then shoot, you have to declare it before you start that action. Because that allows the opponent to react to your attack, because some of the actions you can take allow you to basically almost go into Overwatch. So you're basically waiting for the enemy to do something in your sight, and then you can interrupt, shall we say.
Yeah.
So first thing you do is you declare what you want to do. Then you move into position. You can't pre-measure, remember. And then if it's a range attack, you measure the range, and then you make the attack. If it's hand-to-hand, you basically do the hand-to-hand, as long as you're in base contact. Nice and simple. Range fire, basically you need line of sight, and you need to be in range. Each weapon has a range. Each weapon also has what is called a RAV value, which is the range attack value. And this is two figures again. You've got a high and low value. Say the range of a pistol is 30 centimeters. If you're shooting at somebody within 15 centimeters, i.e. 50% of the total range, you use the higher RAV value. So that's the higher attack value.
Yeah.
If you're shooting somebody greater than 50%, you use the lower RAV value. So you basically shoot, and once you've checked the range, you check the line of sight, you then determine hit and do damage. And once you've done that, you mark that the weapons have been fired, because most weapons are single shot, and you then need to reload them. Close combat is very similar. You basically move into base contact. You then, if you use an action to do an attack or you do a charge, you then carry out the attack straight away.
Yeah.
All fights are done one-on-one. So one figure will move into contact, or one figure will carry out an attack on one other figure.
So there's not multiple combats, or at least the situation you were talking about earlier. It only works out as a combat modifier as opposed to two figures fighting against one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So other figures who are in base contact with either you or in your opponent have an effect on the combat. So think of combat acting almost piecemeal. So you basically move in. So say two figures move in together. The first figure moves in, charges, does a combat. Then the next time the other figure is activated, he can then either do a combat or he can try and move away if he wants to. But say you've got two figures on one, you can move one in and do nothing, and then with the second one in, do the combat, and he gets a bonus because his mate's there. And then the next turn, if they're all still in contact, basically all three of them can activate independently and attack one of the other figures. So it's quite piecemeally the way it works.
Yeah.
It sounds clunky, but it actually works quite well. Because it's always one-on-one, and you just got these little modifiers from having, your mates around you, supporting you, it works quite well.
And of course, as you say, there's only half a dozen figures aside, so
yeah,
it's not that much to do.
No, exactly. Even really complicated ones, you tend to split them out. It might be a case of you moved in, you're attacking somebody, and then somebody moves in and attacks you from the back, so they then attack you, and it's done quite logically, and it's done in very specific order by the activation of that particular figure. So you activate a figure and you do something with that figure, whether that's close combat or shooting or whatever. There are rules for shooting into combat as well. Obviously, you've got a chance of hitting one of your friends. There you go. So, hit determination. This is where it gets really interesting. And this is the bit I love. Remember I mentioned earlier that the stats for each figure are tied to a body location. Well, the reason for that is to work out if you have hit an enemy. The way you do it is each character has an attack value and a defense value. So say my attack value is 2, and I'm attacking somebody who has got a defense value of 3. What you do is, each of the players has 6 cards, and those cards each have a part of the body on them, either head, torso, abdomen, right arm, left arm, or legs. So I've got 2 attacks, so I choose 2 cards from that pack of 6 cards, and I put them face down. The opponent chooses, in this example, 3 cards from his 6 cards and puts them face down. We then turn them up at the same time. And what we're looking for is a location that the attacker has chosen that the defender hasn't blocked by having the same location as one of the cards that he's chosen.
Oh, okay.
Think spoof. If you've ever played spoof, this is basically what you're doing. And I love it. I just love the whole idea. You sit there with your 6 cards in front of you going, am I going to attack the head? Am I going to attack the arms? And as a defender, you then have to try and work out where he's going to attack. Because obviously, if you do damage to a particular body part, it reduces their capabilities.
Okay, now, is it one of these things of you can only use particular body parts once in a turn, or do you get them back for each combat?
Get them back for each combat. Each combat is standalone. You literally get your 6 cards, you choose the number you got for your attack, you do that attack, and then if you're doing another combat, you still got your 6 cards.
Right, okay, so it's not one of these things of, well, I've attacked the head of one opponent, that's used my head attack for this turn.
No.
Okay, right, fine.
So, what you're looking for, so say I chose head and legs, and the defender has chosen legs, right arm, and abdomen. That means that my hit to the head is unopposed, so I've done 1 hit, so I can then do damage. If I had done more than 1 hit, so say I'd chosen torso and abdomen, and the defender had chosen head, right arm, and left arm, I basically got 2 hits gone in. I can then choose 1 body location to do the hit against, and if I do 1 bit of damage, that location takes a critical hit, which means that you then, instead of using the higher value for the stat, you use the lower value for the stat. But it also means that if you take another critical hit to that location, then the figure is taken out. So it's an instant kill, which means you then have to, it goes into the whole thing of, I just done a critical hit on his abdomen. Next time I attack him, do I target his abdomen all the time? The defender's going, well, I've got a critical hit there, I need to protect this. So you can then get hits going in onto other body locations. It's quite tactical. And fun, because it's cards.
And I suppose, yes, cards against, it kind of fits a little bit with the old piratical theme, doesn't it?
It does indeed. There are a maximum number of attack locations that you can choose, and there are also maximum defense ones. So you can't have more than 4 attack locations chosen.
Right. Okay, so if you don't critical, how do you do damage?
Damage. Again, it's fairly simple. If it's range attack, what you do is you take the RAV value, that's the range attack value of the weapon. You add in a fate card. So you turn over a fate card, you add that to your RAV value. There might be some other modifiers. And what you need to do is you need to exceed the defender's toughness plus the value of a fate card plus any modifiers he has. If the attacker's value is greater than the defender's, then the difference between the two is the number of wounds that the defender takes. Does that make sense? So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So say in total I got 14 and the defender had 11. That means I've done 3 wounds to the defender.
Okay, so you cross 3 boxes off on their card.
Exactly, cross 3 boxes off. You look to see if you hit their morale level. If they have to then make a morale check. And if they don't make a morale check, they run away like a frightened child, as it says in the book.
Right, okay. So how does a morale check work?
Morale check is nice and simple. You've got your morale value on the card, which is part of the sort of hit points. And all you do is you draw a fake card and you're looking for a number that's equal to or less than your morale value. If you do that, you pass.
Right, okay.
It's really that simple.
Yeah.
So a normal morale level would be, say, 7. Then as you start to lose points, I mean, it might start off as say at 8. As you knock off vitality points, the morale might go down to 7, and then to 6, and then to 5. So each time you turn over a fate card, if you draw a 5, you're fine. You pass the morale test. If you draw a 7, you go into panic mode, and you basically move away 8 centimeters into cover, and then you have to basically next activation you unsuppress yourself, and you're back again. But if you're suppressed and you're attacked, you basically flee the battlefield.
Right.
Yeah. Doing damage in close combat, a similar sort of thing. You've got the strength of the attacker plus a fate card plus modifiers, and again you're going against defenders, toughness plus a fate card plus modifiers. Same sort of thing.
Okay, so yeah, sounds quite straightforward.
It is, and it works really well. And this whole dynamic of using cards to work out whether you've got a hit going through, it really works, and it just adds the whole sort of interaction between the players.
Yeah, and sounds somewhat similar to another game we've been talking about recently.
Yeah, there are some similarities in that.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I kind of like card mechanics now. It's. I mean, as much as maybe it's because we use dice so many times just to do something a little bit different in a sort of combat system. I think it's really nice, and this is completely different. I've never done a combat system like this before.
Okay, so like we've gone through movement, we've gone through combat and damage and morale. I suppose at the end of the day, this is all about winning the scenario. So, how do you win the scenario?
Every scenario has very specific victory conditions. So when you set up the scenario, it'll tell you exactly what to do. So, for example, I'm just going to pull one out of the book. Okay, so this is funny enough, the treasure hunt. So the victory conditions, the crew which manages to get the treasure into its deployment zone wins the game. So the treasure is basically, it's a marker that's somewhere on the table, you've got to find it. You then got to transport it to your deployment zone. If none of the crews manage this, the winner is the crew with the most glory points at the end of the game. And glory points are done from killing or disabling enemy figures. So yeah, it's all basically in the whole scenario. The scenarios are quite in depth. There's a couple of pages for each one, together with maps to deployment areas and any specific special rules that you might have for that particular scenario.
So, given the fact that you've got 15 scenarios, if they're that detailed, I mean, are there any variations in the scenario?
I suppose that the difference in the scenarios would be the difference in the crew that you're using. You can, some of the scenarios have different deployment areas that you can use. So you can use deployment area A where you start from the corners, or deployment area B where you start from a long line closest to you, or you start in the centre, or you can change the terrain a bit. It gives you guidance on what terrain should be there. Some scenarios have specific terrain items that need to be there. You may have to have one where you're trying to hunt down something that's hidden away in one of 6 huts. So you need to have 6 huts on the table. There's things like that. So yeah, it's quite a lot of scenarios in there. There's also in the 2 supplements, each supplement has got a sort of mini campaign built into it, which is sort of linked scenarios, shall we say?
Yeah.
So it'll be a linked scenarios of sort of 3 or 4 separate scenarios that you play one after the other using the same crews. It doesn't have a proper campaign system. That's the one thing that I think is actually missing. It's a full-on campaign. There's no way you can improve some of the figures in the game.
Oh, right, okay. So, although you have narrative campaigns where you have joined scenarios, it's not like most warbands where you can gain experience and upgrade your individual members of each warband.
Yeah, exactly. There's none of that.
Right, okay. As saying that style of game, that seems to be obviously one thing that most people want to do a lot of, isn't it?
Yeah, I think having a proper campaign system is something that's missing from the game. You can sort of do it by, if you start with the Pacific Warband, and after the first scenario in the sort of narrative campaign, maybe they get some extra doubloons to spend on extra equipment, or they get a certain number of event cards. So you can do things like that. I think there's been a few people who sort of said it'd be really nice if you can, take the basic characters and improve them during the games. But at the moment, that's not there.
Yeah, I suppose that is the one disadvantage where you've got specific characters with, and you sell the character with a characteristic card, if you like. It doesn't actually lend itself to the sort of gaming where you then improve your characters.
Yeah, I think there's probably ways around it. I mean, you could probably borrow something from the sort of juggler idea, where you just have a counter with like a +1 to a particular attribute, and you just put that on the card for the character, just to remind you that instead of having a movement of 10, you've now got a movement of 12 because you've got a +2 movement experience that you gained. So you can really do something around that. I mean, I don't know whether that's something that they're thinking of doing in the future, because the last supplement came out about a year ago, so I think we'll probably do another one. I think it's a thing that they're missing. I mean, they've included the magic system now, which we haven't spoken about, but the magic system is quite convoluted. I'm not sure if I actually like the magic system, if I'm being honest. It's another card-based system. You basically, the way it works is, as part of hiring your crew, some individuals can use these things called loas, which are sort of demons or beings or supernatural entities, which they sort of try to bind to their will, and then once you've bought your loas during the game, you basically try to invoke them into another character. So basically,
right,
say you've got a Lois that's causes you to be violently sick. You can basically try to invoke into one of the enemy. So you basically it's called a willpower duel. So you're basically using the willpower of the caster against the willpower of the target, and try and basically get that demon into the enemy figure, where it can then do whatever characteristic the Lois has got. So
Got it.
It's that sort of thing. Again, it's very sort of voodoo-esque thing where you use cards to basically try and win this duel. It's quite clunky. I don't think I actually like it that much. But then I've only played it once, so maybe I need to play it a few more times to get more into it. But it was quite long-winded. But it didn't overpower the game, which I thought was good, because some magic systems can completely overpower the game. These are almost like doing specific attacks against an enemy, sort of like one-shot attacks that you can use. It's that sort of thing. But again, there's another card deck that you can buy, which has got all the information on the particular Loises that you can buy, and there's more equipment cards in there and stuff like that, and also the cards that you use to actually do the combat or to do the willpower duel, that they're all in there. So it's quite modular in the way it works.
Right. Okay.
You can literally stack different things onto the basic game quite neatly without breaking the game.
Okay, so since it hasn't got a campaign system where you can improve your particular crew, when you're looking at army lists and the number of doubloons you have to spend for each scenario, is there much of a variation in what you can buy?
Yeah, there is, to be honest with you. I mean, each faction has now got probably near enough 20 odd figures per faction.
Right.
And remember that the deckhands, you normally have sort of probably 4 or 5 deckhands per faction, Some have got more, like the Imperial Armada have got more. The deckhands, they're sort of like a generic type of deckhand, so you can, whereas like the pirates have got 4 different deckhand types, you can buy more than one of each of those 4.
Yeah.
But the actual sort of the main basis around it is your leader. So each faction has probably got 3, possibly 4 leaders that you can use. Each leader is very specific in its, whether it fights or it moves or particular abilities. You've then got your specialists, which you can then use to augment the leader and the deckhands. Plus, you've also got the mercenaries, which you can then use. So, say you're taking a Brotherhood faction, which are very old. They're assassins, so they're close combat orientated. They sneak around, but there's no range fire. So you can take a mercenary, which might have a crossbow or might have a gun. So that sort of augments that particular deficit in that particular faction.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot you can do with these factions, but obviously, to be honest with you, it comes down to how much you want to spend on the game. Because, to be honest with you, the figures ain't cheap.
I suppose it's one of those things of, especially European games of this style. We've seen them before, whether it be back to the likes of when Rackham had Confrontation, and we've seen a couple of other games that originate out of Europe. And the one thing about them is the fact that the figures themselves are, they tend to be on the higher price end as far as boutique. I suppose what we would deem boutique figures.
The figures are expensive, but there are ways around it. Each faction does have a starter box that you can buy. The starter box will have somewhere in the region of 4, possibly 5 figures in it. It'll have a leader. It'll have at least 2 deckhands. It'll probably have 1 or 2 specialists as well. They're going for about £25. And that will give you, on average, about 300 doubloons worth of figures. A standard big game, is 500 doubloons. So you're more than halfway there. Normally, you can take a box set and then possibly buy a couple extra specialists, and that'll do you. The specialists, the nicer figures, shall we say, are about €11 each, which is about a tenner, which is a lot for a 28mm figure.
Yeah, quite. I mean, I'm looking at some of these now, and even like some single figures we've got, like, they're looking 13 and a half, 13, or even up to €15.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a sizable outlay.
Yeah. You can. I mean, the deckhands are usually in packs of 2. The deckhand figures are usually a lot simpler, and you get 2 of those for about £12. So they're about £6 each. Which again, it's still a lot, but the way I look at it, I mean, I've been collecting the figures now for about 4 years, and I've played lots, and I've got 10 Brotherhood and 10 Pirates, and that's done me for everything I want to do. So it's not like you're going out and buying 40 or 50 of the things. You will get a decent force together for about £50. And that'll probably be more than you'll need in any game.
Which I suppose at the end of the day is about your average sort of outlay for an awful lot of this style of game, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, these figures, they're beautifully sculpted, they're beautifully cast, beautifully moulded. I really like them. There will be a lot of people who won't like them. There will be a lot of people who will be turned off by the cost of the figures. But unfortunately, there's nothing you can do with that. These are very bespoke figures. £12 for 2 figures for the simpler ones, or £9 for one of the nice ones. Okay, you're going to get a discount from most places you go to. But if you like the style of figures that he sculpts, and you like these type of games, £50 to do your fours, I don't see as a big outlay. Maybe that's just me. They do starter deals as well, which are quite reasonable, where you can get the rules, the card deck, and a box set for about £50.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, most of the games you can literally play for quite a long time just using the starter sets. That 300 points will do you about a 45-minute to an hour game, especially when you're learning the game. So once you've got that, you can then extend it as you wish. You've got the rules, you can see which figures you like, or you do what I do and go, that's a pretty figure, I'm buying that. Because I never bother looking at stats. So, it's which is probably why I keep losing whenever I play these things.
And it has to be said that the figures are pretty stunning.
They're massively stunning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking through, as we're speaking, I'm just happened to be looking through on the Freebooters Fate website and looking at the Amazons, for example, and there's this one female warrior called Okepa, who basically is armoured in the skin of a crocodile.
Yes.
So she's wearing the skull of a crocodile as a helmet, with part of its back, with part of its tail and backbone as armour, and another part fashioned as a shield, and another part of it, a jawbone used as an axe. And yet, she's an Amazon, and it's stunning. It really is. There's no other word for it. It is an absolutely stunning sculpt.
Yeah, they all are. He's just brought out now. He's finally allowed players to play a mercenary fort. So you have the East Lothian Trading Company, I believe it's called.
Right.
So if you go into the mercenary, there's a figure called. It's the leader of the mercenaries. It's called Don Pavlo. And if you ever watched a film called Highlander, which is one of my personal favourite films, you'll notice that there's a guy there wearing a red. You've seen it, haven't you?
I've just clicked on it. Yes.
Yes. I'm sure it's not Sean Connery wearing his peacock robe from Highlands. I'm sure that's just a it's just
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, all the figures are the same. They're all really characterful, and they are a joy to paint. I just love painting the things. There was a while ago he did this Indigo campaign, which I mentioned a bit. It was for his 10th anniversary. What he did, he released 5 figures called Legends, and they were only available for a year. And in the Indigo campaign, you basically had 2 choices on how you did each figure. You either did them basic or you did them blinged up to the eyeballs. So of course I bought 2 sets, so I could do the 2 figures together.
As you do, yeah.
As you do. Plus I got a couple of extra mercenaries, as you do. Anyway, so it was like 13 figures, and it arrived on time in a box, beautifully cast, and I just adore them. I'll probably never use them in a game because you can only use them in the big 750 doubloon games, and they're really expensive points wise, or doubloon wise. But just as a joy to paint, and sometimes that's all I look for. And the fact that the game is good is just a bonus. It's just a shame that not many other people play around by me.
Okay, so I mean, you talked a lot about what you like about the game. Other than the potential issues around cost, is there anything else you don't like about it?
I'm not sure on the magic system. Like I said earlier, I think it's a little bit clunky, but I just need to try it again.
Is there only one faction that uses magic?
No, what they've done now is in the Mystic Spirits book is they've added characters for the other factions who can also use magic. And I'm pretty sure, but I haven't checked this, but some of the older characters did have this sort of magic symbol with a value in it. And they didn't say what it was for, but now it all sort of becomes clear. But I need to check on that. So I think there's sort of back engineered magic into it. So yeah, the magic system is clunky to use, but it doesn't overpower. So I'm not sure on that. Figure cost, personally, I don't mind it, but then I don't buy many figures. I might buy one or two a year, and I buy specific figures I just like to look at. Should I say? I have bought the Cult box set because I was at Warfare and there was a guy next to our stall selling Freebooters, so I had 5 minutes and I was bored, so I bought them. You know what it's like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so it appears then that each faction has, well, look at things around about 20 or so miniatures available for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About that, yeah. You normally got there's probably about three, possibly 4 leaders for each faction. There's usually at least 4 of the deckhands that you can have, and they've usually got multiple sculpts of the deckhands as well. So you can buy the different sculpts for the same type of deckhand, and then you can have a handful of specialists. So it doesn't sound much, but there's enough diversity in there to just by dropping in one other figure, you're going to change the way that the warband or the faction actually operate.
Yeah.
And also, they're just a joy to paint, if I haven't mentioned that already.
So I must admit, as not being the most, I'm a decent painter, not a. I can do a decent job, and honestly, some of these look a little bit intimidating. Just you can look at it and go, "Ooh, yeah, that's a really nice figure," and you know what I mean. It's again, I suppose part of that is it's partly down to the fact that Werner Klock is such a good sculptor.
He's a great sculptor. He does tend to do big eyes. That's the only thing with him. Especially on the females, they have very big alluring eyes that gaze out at you. You have to paint. There's figures in this range that I wouldn't even bother trying to paint because I know I couldn't paint them, and I know that it would annoy me because I couldn't paint them as good as I wanted to. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, we talked a lot about the fact that obviously Freebooters themselves are from Germany originally. How easy is it actually to get hold of these miniatures, other than via the internet?
Pretty simple. I know. I tend to get mine from Firestorm. I think most of the online shops can get hold of them. There's a few shops that obviously keep them in stock. But yeah, just have a look around and you'll find them. Yeah, I've never had any problem getting hold of them, but I tend to either get them at shows where I can see them, or I'll know which one I really want to get, and I'll just put an order in, and they'll order them. Firestorm will put an order into their distributor, and they'll arrive a week or so later. There's probably a few places out there which hold them in stock. So it really is. Google is your friend, I'm guessing. I'm not sure about America or anywhere else. Like I say, it's quite a Eurocentric type of game. So I don't know whether there's an American distributor or not.
Right.
So there we go. There's Freebooter's Fate. I love it. So this is a completely impartial review, I'm afraid.
Yes, people may have guessed we don't tend to do an awful lot of those.
No, not at all. I mean, it is an expensive game in some ways. I like the mechanics of the game. The combat mechanics are fantastic. This whole almost spoof mentality of trying to get hits in is great. It's simple enough so it flows fast. It's got enough depth so it allows you to do what you want. It's very cinematic. It gets a big tick in the box for me. But I know there's a lot of people out there who probably won't like it. I was going to say, but they're wrong.
I must admit, as I was looking through stuff, I did seem to see that the rules available as a free PDF.
Oh, they have.
Because they have apps as well.
Yeah, no, the app. We actually should have mentioned the app. The app. Let's go back and talk about this because, as you may have gathered, as Mike's been talking, I've kind of been having a wander around, especially the Freebooter Miniatures website, and I've come across this Freebooter's Fate. I assume it's companion app. Yeah.
Called a Companero app, which appears to be free.
It is. I have it. Funnily enough, as I'm sure you wouldn't be surprised. The app is very good.
Is that just iOS or is it Android?
Android and iOS.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, it's both. Okay.
So what you get with the app is it says it's free, and it is free because you can download it for nothing. It has the cards in it for some of the figures. Mostly the box sets or the starter sets, all the figures in those are in the app. So what you can do is, but it's also got all of the equipment cards in there and everything. So you can design your faction or your crew using the app, literally by dragging the cards from the stack or just choosing which cards you want to add in. So it adds up all the points for you. You can add in the equipment that you want to have in. And then you can save that faction and then use it in a game. So when you start a game, you can it brings up all the cards, and as you do anything, or as you take damage, you just mark it down on the app, just by literally just tapping the points where you've taken damage or where you've taken a critical hit, and it works everything out. It shows you the stats for that particular figure you've done. But like I say, it only has the stats in it for the basic starter sets.
Okay.
So, and then if you want the other cards, you then have to pay for them. I don't think it's that massively expensive. I think I got the whole lot for about €20, and that's every single card in the whole game. And as they release more, the cards then get released as well into the app.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's really good. I mean, I don't mind using the cards, having the cards in front of me, but it's a way of doing it. But it does mean that if you use this app, you could, in theory, proxy figures, so you wouldn't have to buy the official figures. You could use ones that you've got, as long as you know that figure A is actually Captain Rug from the Pirates, and figure B is actually one of the deckhands or whatever. So you could do that, as long as you know what they are. But yeah, the app is very good. They've also got some downloads on the site. I think they've got a quick start version of the rules. There is like a dedicated Freebooter's Fate site. If you go to the Freebooter's Fate website itself, so go to Freebooters, there's a link there to the Freebooter's Fate website. We'll put the links up in the show notes. In there's a booty section, and that gives you all of the downloads. So there's the FAQs in there. There's quick start rules. You do need to have the game cards to actually play with the rules. So you go by something. There's a little crew calculator there, an Excel-based crew hire thing. There's lots of stuff in there that you can download. I haven't really looked at the Kickstarter, sorry, the Kickstarter, the quick start rules. But I imagine they'll probably be quite good. But yeah, it's on there to have a look.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Mike. I mean, as I say, Freebooters was something I was kind of aware of, and obviously you've mentioned it on more than one occasion before. And yeah, Werner Clock's been on my radar for some time as far as sculpting is concerned. Yeah, so seeing something, seeing freebooters, certainly interesting, as you say, especially with talking about variation in game design and the different way that games work these days. It's certainly one of the more interesting. It's certainly one of the more interesting variations.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of good stuff in these rules.
So as Mike said, there you have it. Freebooter's Fate. We'll put all the links in the show notes, and go have a look and see what you think.
Indeed.
The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is very happy to be sponsored by Coat d'Arms Paints. Now, Coat d'Arms have been supporting miniatures painters with their products for well over 20 years in some way, shape or form. Their current range is 150 sets of acrylic paint, which are available both as individual colours, but also in paint sets depending on period. Things such as the Ancients paint set, the World War II German, World War II American, World War II Russian paint sets, and they also include things like an ACW set and even a Horsetown set. That's one way to purchase your paints. And they also do triads. Now, if you're a fan of the 3-colour system made famous by the likes of people like Kevin Dallimore, you may like to purchase your paints with a dark shade, a medium shade and a highlight. And the triad system from Coat d'Arms allows you to do this. They also have ranges of textured paints called Brushscape, which allow you to paint from textures onto bases as well as colour. And these are ideal especially for smaller scale models. And if you're a fan of the dip method of painting, then Coat d'Arms have their own product available called Super Shader. This is available in light brown, dark brown and black. Coat d'Arms Paints have a whole range of products available to try. Check them out at www.blackhat.co.uk and be sure to tell them that we sent you. Well, I hope you found that review interesting. As you've probably gathered, Freebooter's Fate is a particular favourite of Mike's, not something I've really looked at. However, one really interesting thing is that since our conversation, Wargames Vault, that's www.wargamesvault.com, now have all the Freebooter's Fate rules available in PDF. And at this point in time, they're all half price. This is at time of recording, which is 3rd of May. I think they were released a couple of weeks ago, and as an introductory offer, everything's half price. They also have a free copy of the Quick Play rules and also some free downloadable starter cards, so you can get cracking with the game straight away and try it out for yourself. So that's all available from Wargames Vault. Simply go there and do a search for Freebooter's Fate. They have it in both English and German versions. It's certainly an interesting game with some, very different mechanics. As you said during the review, the figures themselves are absolutely stunning. Werner Klock has got to be one of the top sculptors working in the world at the moment. So well worth checking out. Okay, well, that's all we've got time for this show. I hope you've enjoyed it, found it useful. We hope to bring you a podcast again very soon. In the meantime, take care, happy gaming. I'll speak to you very soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you want to know more about Meeples and Miniatures, there are several things you can do. First of all, you can visit the website at www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. If you want to contact the show at all, you can email me at neil@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. You can follow the show on Twitter. Simply look for M&M Podcast or click the follow us on Twitter button from the website. We also have a group on Facebook. That's the Meeples and Miniatures Podcast Fan Club. Again, follow the link from the website. And finally, if you want to help us to support the show, you can always donate to the podcast by clicking the PayPal button on the donate page, again found on the website. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope you've really enjoyed the show. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.